Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Victory Day, win number 300 for Rod Brindamore, the fastest NHL coach to 300 wins. It's one of those things where you're kind of like, when are we going to get there? Like, you knew it was coming, and he has plenty of room, but it feels good to get in the bag. I think he threw Friday night. I think the boys threw Friday night just to get him that dub at home. Just so Stormy could be there, so you could have popcorn Zambonis. I'm not saying that they definitely threw the game Friday night, but I'm going to go with that because it makes me feel better, right? How about you?
Okay, so look, for me, I have a even more grandiose aspect of this. I think this is probably the key that unlocks the door to the Hall of Fame for Rod Brindamore. They seem to be totally locked down on not letting him in as a player for whatever reason, because it makes no sense. But I think that Rod, because of his work as a coach, you combine everything in it together, and he'll get into the Hall of Fame through another aspect, whether it's a builder or you know what I mean? Like, I can't recall exactly the different categories that they have, but just in combination overall, that this type of performance of what he does from here and beyond is what's going to be the thing that actually gets him in where someone votes for him.
And real quick, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
So Boudreau was next fastest, right?
Yep.
I think it was 512 games. So Rod did it 8 games faster than Boudreau. So 2 weeks.
Yep.
They're the only 2 coaches to do it in fewer than 500 games.
Which is amazing.
Which is just nuts. I mean,
I feel like when it comes to the Hall of Fame thing, I feel like even though it's like stupid because it's supposed to be purely for player stats, they really want to have the story of he won a cup as a player, he won a cup as a coach that they can like parade around. And even though it's supposed to be purely player accolades, I kind of have a hunch that they think that he's in the wings for winning a cup as a coach, and they can like use that as a thing that they can say. I feel like he'll eventually get in, but he's long overdue. It's like ridiculous at this point. It's been like he should have been in there for like 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And for those who are listening, the voice that you just heard is our guest for the Storm Cellar. He slides in through the door and seamlessly gets into the conversation, and it's absolutely perfect the way we have it. It's our friend Ches Caniac extraordinaire, and
stuck in. They can't figure out how to get me out.
And so here we go. Like, this is our episode this week. Ches has joined us, and as we do here in the Storm Cellar, and our belief, is that it's the Caniacs that provide the fuel for the players. I mean, the players are great, but sometimes they need a little boost. They got it last night in that particular game, and it's people like Ches who love their hockey, love their team, and they get a chance to join us. So we put the focus on them. So Ches, thank you for joining us. Everything you said about Rod, about how he deserves to be into the Hall of Fame already is entirely accurate. Like, exactly. I don't understand why. But now we're going to turn the light on you. You see, because we like to focus on the players and we know everything about them, we always want to find out about our Caniacs and guests in the Storm Cellar. Shine the spotlight on them. Let them tell their story. How did you get involved into hockey? How did you become a Caniac? Do you have favorite players and so forth? Like, we want to hear the whole story. So we're turning the spotlight on you. Ches, tell us all about it. Give us your story. How did you become a Caniac?
Yeah, sure. So I guess there's kind of two parts to that story because I've been going to the game since I was a kid. I was born in the area. I've lived here my whole life. My dad would take me to the hockey games. I know I have like random merch items from when I was young, and some people might hate me for saying this, but when I was young was like 2006, 2007, because I'm 23. But I have I have like a fake stick from 2007 that my dad must have bought me at some point. So the Canes have been in my life for a while, but as I'm sure you know, they were kind of bad for a while. So I wasn't super into the culture until they got good again. Which I guess you can call me a fake fan for that or whatever.
Nope.
But I I really turned it on again during the pandemic. I was kind of going crazy during COVID, so I was looking for any and all things to occupy my time, and that weird abbreviated COVID season was like the only thing I had going on for a while there. That and like classes. So I think that was when I truly fell in love with the game. Was that weird year where it was us, Tampa, and Florida in the same division for some reason, uh, which I thought was
over
fun.
and over and over.
I thought that was kind of a fun rivalry to have. I wish we could play those teams more. Specifically because Florida is also a small market team that's like better than people expect them to be. I thought that was fun. But yeah, I've pretty much been obsessed with the team since like COVID. Um, and ever since then, I've been posting about hockey, posting whatever stupid opinions I have. A lot of the time, I'm wrong. Sometimes I jinx the team. Sometimes I try to jinx the team and fail. Uh,
Okay, Brad. Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. First of all, Brad.
Yeah.
Ches is entirely too hard on himself.
Yeah,
But
right.
what I'll also say is I love the superstition aspect that he just threw in because you and I both the beard that I have right now has been for 3 years. I started it as the playoff beard and then decided that I was going to keep this thing until we won the cup. And so it's been, I've been sporting it for a long time, but you're criticizing yourself for a lot of stuff. You're taking it too hard. You clearly have, and I can tell the passion and the smarts. Like you know what you're talking about. And I just I had to jump in because you're criticizing yourself a little
I
bit
like
too
being
hard.
really hyperbolic in both directions. I think it's funny. I think it's really funny. Like the second I get something just like incidentally right, like if I happen to get like who's gonna score first correct, or like that like some random team's gonna like win an upset, I'm like, I'm the smartest person alive. I know infinite amounts of puck. I am the number one puck knower. And then like the next day I'm just like wrong about the Canes winning or something, or like I'm like, we're not gonna lose this lead, and then we choke. I'm like, I know nothing about hockey. I'm a fraud. You should unfollow me.
If it makes you feel better, though, because I followed your post for a long time, and that's one of the reasons we invited you on, because I think you're right a lot more often than you're wrong. If you really are feeling down ever, look at the national media and say, let's compare my percentage of good takes versus theirs, and I promise you, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm
100%.
I'm mostly being hard on myself for the bit. I think I'm usually fairly spot on. But I think also on some level, no one really knows what's happening because a lot of it's just sort of random. And people assigning stories to like a lot of noise in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if a player like score like Necas scored like a billion points at the beginning of the season, and everyone's like, is he the next Wayne Gretzky? And like I think he was just hot. Like I think he was just feeling himself.
Yeah, and that what we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the program, and that's a great point. So you're already on point. I mean, so yeah, I'll say this. One of the other things about you maybe being overcritical, you started before the dark days, and you came back. I don't think of you as like a fair weather fan, mostly because it makes no sense to be fair weather if you're a Hurricane fan. But over and above
Sure.
that, it's you were there before the start, and everyone feels better once you start playing better. Once you start uh, playing with more life, and you have better results that come into the end. I think that's just a result and a reward for staying through such hard times. So you're too hard on yourself.
Winning
Too
cures
hard
all
on yourself.
ills. A
Yeah,
lot of
100
people, I'm sure, didn't pay as close of attention after maybe
Yeah.
the first couple years of that run, that bad run. You know, people were still watching. And after like year 3, people were like, I'm still interested, but you know,
It was like
Yeah,
a perfect
not good for my
storm of
mental
not
health,
just
right?
the team wasn't just bad. It was like clear that the ownership didn't care, and I think that's like the special sauce there. Like if this Hurricanes team has like a non-playoff year, then I'm not going to believe that's for lack of trying. Like I believe that Eric Tulsky and Rod Brindamore are going to do their best to put a good team on the ice, and if they fail to do that, that will be like a genuine failure due to like forces that they couldn't but I feel like in the like Carmanos era, like they weren't even really trying to field a good team. And I think that's what makes it hard to watch a team like that. Because that's how I feel about the Panthers right now. Is like ownership doesn't care. The team is perennially bad, and there's no chance that the team is gonna get better.
right.
As long as the value of the team is going up,
Yeah.
Tepper can say what he wants. But yeah,
so long
I'm
as
with you.
people are making money.
If we were the Ducks and my GM has been taught to spin it to the floor and just try and get draft picks, and in 3 or 4 or 5 years we'll see what happens, like I would be upset. Yeah.
I
no
don't know what I would
question.
do if I was a Sabres fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go one step beyond that. As well, see, I was going to say, if you're a Leafs fan, that's probably the worst because of the lack of results and stuff. But when you look at this season alone, there are, the Sabres, man, it's
But at
it's
least they're
ponderous.
trying.
Yeah.
I
True
mean,
enough.
now Kevin Adams, who Ray knows, my favorite player of all time, great player. As a GM, he's made a lot of decisions I wouldn't want as my GM, but he's at least trying, and ownership is at least saying, "Hey, we want to win." But there's other teams in the league that are like, money's coming in, it's fine.
You know what's really funny, Brad? You and I, Ches has brought up so much. It's like we're the dogs that go squirrel. You know what I mean? we were busy focusing on Ches, and I still haven't had a chance to ask him who his favorite player is. He brings out these great points, and we're like squirrel. Like we stay with it, right? He's throwing out this great stuff. So
we ad-lib our script a lot, right?
I'm like derailing the conversation.
7 lines.
No. We're that's us. We're following it because you're putting out some great points. Who's your favorite player? Or do you have one?
So I would probably say like overall it's been Svetch for most of my my hockey fandom. My lucky number is 37. And I didn't pick that. I picked that before Svetch was before I even watched hockey. So that was just like a cosmic coincidence that
nice
lucky number 37 and Svetch wears 37. I always liked him. I got to watch him basically from when he started because of when I started watching hockey. Like I guess I was a year or so late. I don't know, I've always liked his play. Recently, I've been a little bit more disappointed by his play, but I think he'll get it. I think that he's a very streaky player. He's a very like if he's in a good headspace, he's like god killer level good. But if he's not feeling himself and he feels like down on himself, then he's like not going to be playing well. Other than that, I love Jarvis, but everyone loves Jarvis. That's kind of a basic pick. I'm a ride or die KK fan just because I know so many Habs fans that and I'm in like their group chats and I want to harass them every single time he scores.
See now this
will get along swimmingly.
I've got the KK jersey on right now. I got the Stadium Series uncustomized, and when I went to the game, I was like, whoever scores first, I'll get on the jersey.
Love it.
And KK scored first.
You harassing fans of the team that shall not be named. I absolutely love that. Suddenly, Ches goes right to the top here. One of my favorite Caniacs. Anyone who control the team that shall not be named. Man,
I
that
love getting
makes
into
me.
stupid arguments with people.
There you go. Okay. Well, should we now? Is there anything else? Anything else about the team? A point that you love, about them? Something that draws you in, that makes it. Is there anything else? Because if there's not, I mean, there's no problem with that either. We can jump into the last week's games and start breaking them down. But I want to make sure that you get all of the focus you deserve.
I'd say like fundamentally, if I had to pick one thing that I like about the Canes versus like other hockey teams, like not just including the fact that like they're local and all that, it would probably be that like I think they're one of the only teams in the league that has like consistent coaching that can be relied on from year to year. Like some people will like hate on Rod or whatever, but I've never been at a point where I was like, Rod is the problem. We should move on from Rod Brindamore, because like that's like a ridiculous thing to say. And I think that he's one of like two coaches in the league that has like a stable job. Like every other team like rotates a coach. Like it feels like every 6 months. Like it was like the Red Wings just fired their coach or something. It's like the second the team loses like 5 games, every team's like their trigger finger on the big red fire the coach button just like goes off immediately. I like that it feels a lot more like I grew up watching like UNC basketball and stuff and like college sports, and I feel like the coaching there is a lot more like stable. Like you have a guy who that's your program guy, and I like that it feels like we have our like program guy with Rod Brindamore who like the players love. He gets us to the playoffs every year. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. Every time he has a new contract up, the national media is like, the Flyers are going to pay him $8 billion to come to Philadelphia, and he just like tells them no, and we probably underpay him, and he still stays. So I would say that Rod Brindamore is probably the special sauce here.
I couldn't agree with you more. Just the way the whole culture has changed. Brad, I know you're itching to jump in there too.
I agree. It's, when you look around the league, and we've talked about this before, right? Like, the Eyes are playing and has fired another coach.
Yeah.
And it was actually the right move for them, but that's not going to fix the issue.
No.
I actually said this, Stevie went on the, talking to the media and was like, hey, if anybody's got, a better way, let me know. And my response was, I have a better way. Just pay me. I'll be the GM. Why tell you and let you screw it up? Because you keep bringing in guys like Kane and Tarasenko and spending money on free agents to instead of rebuilding from start and just saying, hey, we're going to stink for 2 or 3 years and we're going to do a full rebuild. You keep not wanting to do that, and it keeps elongating. So now we're near like 6 of the Eyes are plan, and I called it the fire plan, the Pfizer plan.
Or then you get to the
Steve's going to be ousted before they get back to a Stanley Cup final. I mean,
you get the Nashville situation where they like buy every free agent and then are just like the worst team on earth somehow.
Right.
Now,
Buffalo,
when
the Rangers, like, no offense to Adams and Drury, but you can fire coaches that they're not necessarily the issue.
Full offense to Drury.
They're not helping, but
just because he's the Rangers GM. But
yeah.
Yes.
Let's move into examining the last week's games. There's 4 of them, and Brad and I said we wanted 4 points, and at the end of the last episode we said the best way to go would be to take at least 2 from New Jersey, and if we were going to lose a game, lose to the Preds. And it's like we manifested. It's like we manifested that into existence. Because we had who
also
was it
meant
before
it to be
that?
Close.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I said lose to them, not get run off the ice by them.
Now, who it was the Rangers. We really wanted a Rangers win, and that came up Like, I mean, everything's coming up Millhouse. You know what I mean? Like it was lovely. That win was fantastic. They got the victory, got the points, continued the Rangers' misery. Their misery hasn't stopped, by the way, because they're still losing,
The
and
last of these,
they are in free fall right
or at
now.
least
And
in the Metro.
who thought that at the start of the season? Really, like no one. I just certainly did not expect this catastrophic collapse for them. We'll take a chance to look at the Nashville, that game. Okay, here's the thing in my eyes. We as Hurricane fans, there's times where we get beat and we like to default to the we got goal lead result. And while Saros was really good and made some big saves when he had to, it didn't look like the effort was there, the urgency, the everything that you need. You know what I mean? It just didn't look like it was there. And the same thing could have been said for the New Jersey game in New Jersey. It looked like they weren't there until the third period when they actually turned up the energy, turned up the forecheck, and got those 2 goals to, give fans a beacon of hope. That they didn't look like they were in it, that they were allowing New Jersey to just kind of take control and hold the game. And that changed in last night's game. And so that's like a mini look at all 4 games together. I want to really seriously break down on the 4th game in a second, but that's just the overall look that I had. And Brad, what was your take of the overall 4? I mean, there were at least 6 points there that we should have had. We only got 4, so it was the best form of 4 that we got.
Yeah, which is what we wanted. Beat the Rangers and beat New Jersey once, so that you don't lose any position. If you get another win, get 2 against New Jersey and still lose the Preds game.
Yeah.
But it's not lose. Like, I know a lot of people, especially on social media, right? And I'm the first one to say it. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve during the game, and I get excited and I overreact. And that's part of the fun for me. Mm-hmm. And if you ask me the next day, I'll tell you what I feel. And what I feel is this. To either of you, were we going to go 98-0-0 to win the Stanley Cup this year?
Yeah, no, of course not.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Chess says yes. So that blows. Never mind. My whole point is losses don't bother me.
One game,
they really don't.
The cup is off. We better start tanking.
Losses don't bother me. It's sports. Right. You're going to lose. Mm-hmm. The 32nd best team in the NHL is still an NHL team. Mm-hmm. Right? They can beat you. You just don't know. It's how you lose. Yeah. And when I feel like we lose because of a lack of effort, that really bothers me. That cuts right to my heart and soul, because when you go through every year when I'm like, who's my favorite player of this team, of this season, it's always generally a lunch pail guy. Who's working every time? Right now, if you said, Brett, who's your favorite player from this year's squad? I'd be hard pressed not to say Carrier. Yeah. Because that dude is giving it every night, even when the rest of the team isn't. He's working. Like, nothing against Stahl and Martinook, but every time I'm noticing, like, oh, that dude is out there giving it 110% every single shift. You know what I mean? And so, look, losses. Like, we lost to the Caps. Probably expected. They're for real, right? Mm-hmm. To lose to the Preds, they're not a good team. Should not have been 5-2. Saros was good. And to your point about getting goal lead, if you play 10 games in a month and 2 of those you go, hey, we got goalied, you probably got goalied. Yeah. If you lose 4 of those 10 and all 4 of them go, you got goalied, nah, your offense just wasn't any good. And that's a you problem. Saros wasn't unbeatable. Like, you could see it the whole game. He wasn't on that level of like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean?
You're going to be playing against NHL caliber goaltending, like in most games. At some point, you have to be able to score against NHL caliber goaltending. Like,
Right.
like I'm sorry, pretty much every team has a good goal. Even like the bad teams have a good goalie. Like,
Yeah.
at some point, you have to be able to put the puck in the net. And I know a lot of that's like puck luck and getting the bounces and stuff, but if it's a long-term pattern, then you are doing something wrong with your forward group.
Yeah, and
Accurate.
if you're going to say you got goalied, then for the Hurricanes, the new expression should be you got piped. Because we have hit so many pipes. And that is a shooter not getting it in the spot they want it and missing by only a couple inches. Like, it's not like I can do it. Like, but I also don't make $8 million a year.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say you got goalied, then every time we hit a pipe and we lose by one, I want you to say we got piped. Like, the pipe was just better than usual. And it's not our shooter's fault that they hit the pipe that doesn't move and is always the same size and is bright red and really obvious to see. It was the pipe. The pipe must have been, it's just a silly argument every time we lose. That's all. Sometimes it happens, but not as frequently as people say.
I think a lot of times it's a cope. I think a lot of times people don't want to admit that they just got outplayed.
Yeah, that's hard to say against your own team, because sometimes you think that, I'm not being a good fan if I'm not always up or always, carrying the water sort of thing. And it just, and as for the pipe thing, I'm starting to question whether the players, and especially KK, is watching too much Ted Lasso. Because he's like Danny. He can hit the post whenever he wants and does so all the time. Like, and it's amazing how many posts we hit. And I'm thinking, every time I hear that clank, every time I hear it, it's like, man, there's Danny Rojas again, showing off that he can hit the post or the bar or the crossbar anytime that he wants. Right? It blows me away. Ches,
if the net was an inch wider, KK would be in the running for the Selke.
Well, there's no question, right? There's no question.
Especially have 25 goals already.
Yeah, unbelievable, right? Ches, what did you think about those 4 games before we narrow in on a very hotly contested New Jersey game in Carolina last night? Because that's the one I really want to focus on.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the fact that my jersey just fell off the wall. I don't really know why that happened.
Ooh.
I don't know. Like you said, like objectively, getting 4 points out of those games is like not that bad. And winning against the Rangers and winning against the Devils are like the 2 priorities. But I do agree. It was a problem of like the games we lost just felt like the Canes were in it until they got scored on, and then they just kind of fell asleep for half the game, and then they came back way too late, and then there was nothing they could do with the rest of the game because there was like 5 minutes left on the clock. Like that Devils game, like the first one, I thought that the Canes outplayed the Devils pretty handily for the first 15 minutes. Like we got 1 goal, and that goal was terrible. Like I think I posted it was like the most like Mickey Mouse like fraudulent goal I've ever seen. Because like honestly, it maybe should have even been whistled dead. Because I don't. Like that goal was like bad, but a goal's a goal, and I thought that we absolutely owned them for 15 minutes. But then like we just kind of fell asleep at the wheel, and we allowed 2 goals in like it was like. It felt like 2 minutes or something. And then until the end of the game, we just weren't in it for the rest of it. The Devils just owned us and ate our lunch. This last game was a lot better, I think mostly just because the Canes were angry and wanted to beat the crap out of people. And I think that was kind of a good look for them. I think that, especially against the Devils, who I don't think are a super physical team either most of the time. So I think that the Canes matched up well. Like if they were like fighting against like the Panthers or something, then I feel like the Canes would probably just lose most of those fights. But I think we were able to match up pretty well. Like, I mean, or we can talk about the Orlov Haula stuff later, I'm sure. But
yeah, look,
the worst game was the Preds one because the Preds are terrible. The Preds are, in my opinion, the worst team in the league. So that was a depressing game to watch. And And there was no excuse for that. Like when we started getting back into it, I was starting to get a little bit delusional. Like maybe we can make it happen, and then no.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna turn the spotlight on all of us here for just a moment. Okay. Um, do you think as fans, the three of us, and I'm looking at the three of us because we all pretty much see things the same way. Do you think that the success that the Hurricanes have had since Rod has got here is a reason why that we think that when we are struggling, it's on us as opposed to the opposition that we're playing? Because as we all acknowledged, every NHL team, they're NHL caliber players, right? At what point do we say, are we not giving the opposition enough credit for the results that happen, right? Because it looks like, and I feel it too, when we lose, it's something that we're not doing right, as opposed to the opposition. They're pretty good too, and they've got lots of assets that can force their will. Like, do we not give our opposition enough credit for these difficult games?
I think
It's a
it's
tough question.
I think everyone sees their team as the protagonists of the story that they're watching. Like, I think every Devils fan thinks every game is a result of the Devils' actions. Every Sabres fan thinks that every Sabres loss is a result of the Sabres playing badly. I think that that's like a pretty universal thing, that everyone's very egocentric on how their own team is operating versus on others. Whereas if you look at it objectively, it's going to always be a two-way street. Like sometimes a team will just like play so badly that there's no chance that the other team could have lost, but it's always going to be one team played really well, one team played really bad. But I think specifically why I lean towards the Canes being the to blame for the losses is just because, like I said, I feel like there was just a clear shift after getting scored on where they stopped playing as hard. And I feel like that is on the Hurricanes for not being able to respond to that pressure and not doing what they were doing at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that's valid point. Brad, where do you weigh in?
Teams know how to beat good teams know how to beat the Hurricanes. You basically shove our game back at us, right? You forecheck aggressively and you try and get breaks on transition. There's no rocket science to it. I mean, if I figured it out, then if you're a head coach, you should have. And if you haven't, then your team should give me a call. That being said, going back to it's not losing, it's how we lose. When you see a game like Washington or the first New Jersey game, the latter half of that, New Jersey doesn't make us skate slower. They don't make us not make good decisions. You know what I mean? Like high pressure will make you make a bad decision and turn it over, and then the puck's going to the wing in the net, and that happens. And that is something you can chalk up to the opposition, being like, man, they just played a good game. But when guys don't look interested,
I feel like responding to high pressure was also something that the Hurricanes were uniquely good at the beginning of the season. Like, I kind of thought that was their X factor for why they kept winning so many games, is that we would go down and just like immediately be able to respond. And like, we would not look shaken at all. And it would just be like, okay, we still have two more periods. We still have the second and the third, and we're going to score 6 goals, so it doesn't matter. And I just feel like a lot of that special sauce is kind of gone. Like, it feels like we very much are like, we need to get on the board quickly, or we're not going to have the wherewithal to keep fighting. But that last game, we did get scored on first, and we did stick through it. So maybe that's a sign of good things to come.
And one of the things that I see, and maybe it makes it easier for us to look at the Canes so forth as the reason why they are losing, so to speak. It's the style that we play. It is high risk, high reward, right? Playing man to man for 60 minutes in the most physical sport, the fastest sport, there are going to be mistakes. And the problem is that the mistakes are so much more catastrophic, right? And when you look at last night, the first goal, Catton, I can't remember, he scored for New Jersey. It was KK kind of semi loses balance slash blows a tire and turns the puck over at the blue line, and his guy sweeps in, and it's a breakaway from the blue line and scores the first goal of the game. And it's those tiny mistakes that, while it is working really well and we're, have the other team on lockdown because the style is so much pressure, the mistakes just always hurt. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why we focus on blaming the Canes for the losses as much as we do. We have to keep remembering it's the, a small little mistake. Someone blows a tire, which happened a lot in this last, like this season.
Games.
All these games, but the entire season, are we not seeing guys wiping out like all the time? It feels like it's very strange. I've never seen Aho lose his wheels and blow tire as much as he has this season. Like, never.
It's more slippery. I don't know.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't know what it is, but it's a good assessment. Let's examine yesterday's game, and there's really only 2 points of the game that I wanted to examine. And the first, I'll examine it this way because New Jersey and their fans all said it's the point where the game changed, and it was wrong. And for the record, it wasn't the refs that actually made the call. It was Toronto, who had a chance to take a look at this and say, hey, this is the situation. Timo Meier's hit on Necas. Very quickly. Brad, knee or no knee?
I thought it was borderline. In the thing that I sent to Ray when I watched it last night, I put together a text file of notes, and the word consistency is highlighted like 3 times in all caps.
Yeah.
I've seen worse. Like, I don't think I would not have called that a 5-minute major. I would have called it probably a 2. And I don't think it was that bad. I do feel like he led with his knee some, but not. He also led with his elbow. Like, if you go back and watch it slow mo, like, the elbow was probably more egregious than the knee. The knee just happened to catch first. Now, that being said, if you've ever played sports, or even not, and just if you've ever taken a shot to the knee like that, or a shoulder playing hockey, football, whatever, just hitting the ground, you know what I mean? Like, you get a stinger, and for a couple of minutes, like, the limb is useless. Like the limb can go numb. Like, there's high, amounts of pain with that. But if there's no injury, the pain goes away in a couple minutes, your nerves settle down, and you get back. I mean, he was back on the ice before all the calls were even done being made. So I think the whole, like, always rolling around to get the call thing, I don't agree with that. That being said, I wouldn't have given him a 5 for that. I thought of the things we're going to talk about in this game, that was not the egregious one.
Exactly. Go ahead, Ches. Did you think it was a 5-minute kneeing?
Honestly, not really. I think I agree. I think I lean towards it's a minor and whatever. Like, I wouldn't really sweat that call either way, quite honestly. I think some people made more of a fuss about it than maybe they needed to. The other one, more than
and we're going to get there. And I think again, just staying with the Necas thing, I think what exacerbated the situation, first of all, when you see it in slow motion, his knee twists really friggin' hard. Like, it.
Oh yeah, I thought he was out.
It looked super bad, and I thought he was going to be out too. The fact that he was back on the ice so quickly, I was like, it made me question if New Jersey players and their fans were right, that he was just totally, selling an injury, like, selling a fake bill of goods. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't. He got on so quickly, and he was back to normal.
People who were in the arena who are by the tunnel said, "Oh no, he was hurt walking down. Like, he was." Like I said, if you've ever had a stinger for a couple of minutes, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and then it just goes away.
Also, the mentality of thinking you're hurt makes things feel worse than maybe they actually are when it comes to, like, the actual physical reality. Like, if you think that you, like, you like twisted your ankle's gonna hurt a lot more, even if you didn't actually twist your ankle. I do agree that like I don't know. I think we have the benefit of hindsight here. If he was actually hurt, I would probably be a lot more mad. But the fact that we know that he got back on the ice like pretty quickly makes me a lot less like gung ho about like he should have had a 5. Like I don't know. And maybe there was some embellishment there, but I don't think that it was intentional. I think that Necas thought he was hurt and then figured out that he was better off than he thought he was.
And
ahead,
real
Brad.
quick, to all the New Jersey fans who are like, well, Necas was back on the ice. And the rule is an intent to injure.
Yeah.
So if I'm a hockey player and I put my elbow through your face and you're able to play the rest of the game, should I not be suspended for a hit to the head? No, I should, because it's the intent. So the fact that Nate just came back on the ice is completely irrelevant to the call.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a fan thing.
If you tried to shoot me and missed, that's still a crime. Like,
Right,
Yeah.
that should not be attempted murder. It should just be murder. The fact that you suck at shooting at people is not relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you tried.
And that was one of the things that I thought, just because the player is not injured does not mean that the penalty wasn't the same. So
Yeah.
was there knee-to-knee contact? Yes, there was. I wouldn't have, like, if Necas was really embellishing, that would look bad. I hate that aspect, right? Like, that's the one thing that I hate about soccer the most. Neymar rolling from Brazil all the way to the Arctic on every time he's taken down. I mean, stop,
But
right?
and the long camera zooms show like him smiling, like he's laughing
The
when he's
whole
down.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, Necas was
exactly.
not laughing. Necas was, I mean,
No,
just
he was in
watch
pain.
Necas's leg whip and you go, oh man, that could easily be an ACL or MCL. And the fact it wasn't is amazing.
My knee hurt watching it as many times as I did. Now, so there's that. And that was a big change in the game, although I'll say most of the power play that they had stunk until Blake positioning himself in front of the net made a masterful tip to get that by Allen, because Jake Allen was not allowing goals, like not
Another great shot by KK.
easy ones. Another great shot. Yes, absolutely. But then we go to Hurricane public enemy number 1, I would say, in Haula.
yeah.
The New Jersey Devils play-by-play guys, while it was happening in real time, all said, ooh, that's kind of a high hit. That's probably going to land him a penalty. And they all thought that a penalty was going to be called. It was worse than just a high hit. It was a straight elbow to the chin.
Yeah.
Like, there was no two ways about it. He gets his elbow out, and like the Devils after the fact, they were all saying, that was a clean hit. The refs didn't call it. There was nothing there. No, there's usually something there, and the refs just either miss the call or don't call it. It was a clear elbow to the head, which the refs didn't call, by the way. I mean, they said roughing, so maybe, like, I don't know if they were saying instead of an elbow, that was actually roughing. Okay, fine. And then Orlov jumping him afterwards, while I completely and totally understand the wanting to do that on his part and the joy received by every Hurricane fan in the building for having Orlov doing it. I mean, Orlov had a good game, but he was given the number 1 star because he jumped Haula. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Yes.
Yeah, sure he got a goal, but he got the number 1 star because he jumped Haula. And it was to me, and I said it to Brad last night, that was dumb. Like, he shouldn't have done it. Like, first of all, it's not classy, it's not whatever. Like, if you've been pulled away and separated, leave it be. Right. And it was my belief that that's why he got the matching 2 minutes. There could have been another power play there. But in the same respect, Haula deserved to get his clock clean
Yeah.
for what he did. Right. So this is that weird dichotomy that we all have. You know, was it the smart thing for him to do to get revenge immediately, which is always going to be called? Or, you know what, take the 2 minutes and get your pound of flesh, right? Like that's really what it seemed like. What was your guys' take on that whole situation? Because the game got markedly more aggressive
Yes.
after that. Like there were a lot of people making specific runs at certain players. Even when Haula got out of the box, he made a couple of runs at Necas and all the rest of it. So what was your guys' take of this one? Ches, I'll start with you.
My opinion when it comes to the whole should Orlov have fought back against Haula, like I agree with you that probably in the micro scale of winning this game, it was probably not a smart idea for him to take that run. You're just risking getting a call against you. The game's already close. You just lost them again. You're on a bad streak. You need a win. But I do think on some level, on a macro scale, I feel like the Hurricanes have a bit of a reputation now of being very like technical, silky sort of players that can't throw a hit. And specifically when it comes to the Devils, who are our de facto rival right now, because the Rangers are completely irrelevantly bad. Like, I think the Caps eventually, if they can prove they can do this for another year, might end up being up there again. But I think as far as continuity goes, the Devils are our primary rival in terms of relevance in the division. I think it's good to make a statement that, hey, you can't do this against us. If you try something like this, then we're going to fight back and we're going to play the most physical period of hockey of the entire season for us. So I think like maybe it wasn't the most intelligent decision when it comes to winning the game, but I do think it's a good statement to be making specifically against this team. As for the original hit, it should have been called. I don't really know what else to say about that. Like that is I hate that hit in like every way because like all the arguments from the Devils fans are like nonsensical because he's not playing the puck. He goes straight with the elbow. It was completely unnecessary. I don't understand how you can defend that one.
I don't understand how the ref below the goal line with a clear sight line to it didn't see it or call it. Like, I don't understand. Brad?
So a couple of clarity things, I guess. In regular speed, I went, that looks high. And on slow-mo, I went, that's 100% a penalty. Like that's, if anything, that should have been a 5-minute major for a check to the head, which got called on Robinson earlier in the game. And if you watch it back, it wasn't. Like I thought the call against Robinson was marginal. But if the call on Robinson is a hit to the head, then the call on Haula is 100,000%. Consistency, all caps at the end of that note. Like shocker, right?
Yeah.
I agree with y'all overall. So the other clarifying point is New Jersey fans are all up in arms. Orlov left the bench to come out and get Haula. He didn't because that's a huge no-no in the NHL, and he would have gotten, a significant...
Suspended.
He would have gotten suspended.
He wouldn't call that?
He didn't.
Like,
he walked over, he cleaned up his nose, he came back, and he took a swipe at him. And it wasn't even... It was just to remind Haula he's there. It's, had it been a real fight, he probably would have gotten an instigator and the whole shebang-a-bang, right? I agree with both of you in that. In the short term, that's a really dumb thing to do. But I liked it because if there's anything about this Canes team, and Ches kind of was saying this, they're soft. I mean, they guys take runs at Marty Necas, nobody sticks up for him, right? It's one of those things. There's something to be said for Orlov going out there and whooping Haula's butt one good time for everybody. So in the short term, it was a really dumb thing to do. I'm glad it ended up not costing them. But in the long term, the Canes play better with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, we saw that after the players only meeting after the West Coast trip last year. We've seen it a number of times. Andrei Svechnikov is a player who he's just better when he seems to be upset. I wish there was a way to aggravate him more. He's too nice of a guy, right?
Very emotional player.
Yeah, the Hurricanes in general, they're just too nice, right? They're very, we love our Ted Lasso. They're very Ted Lasso-y. Like, you guys are too nice. Like, we need you to go on the pitch. We're going to give you the signal, and then you just need to play with a chip on your shoulder. If you 100%. Know what I mean, you Ted Lasso folks. Ryan Hinkle reported last night we had 41 hits against New Jersey, which was the most they've had in a regular season game since 2022, also against New Jersey. So 41 hit. The Canes should not be making hits in a Trouba, Rempe, Haula way.
No.
Right.
Like they shouldn't be going out to hurt guys, and you shouldn't be getting out of position to hit guys, but you should be finishing your checks. And when somebody lays a body on Necas and puts him on the ice, somebody on their team should kiss the ice. I mean, it should happen. You need to stop playing in a way that like we're just going to beat you a skill every time because the refs don't call it that way. Like I think Rod's idea is don't retaliate, take the power play, and hit him where it hurts. The problem is half the calls go uncalled. And the other half is against good defenses, you don't score as many power play. You know what I mean? So if you're not going to get the benefits of not retaliating, retaliate. Like I'm not going to ever criticize a Canes player for retaliating smartly.
Yeah, we're saying
in front of the referee right in the crease on the power play is always going to get called. Like that's why he's in the box so much, is because they're like, oh, that's everybody's watching you, dude. But somebody drops one of your star players, knee to knee, even though we all agree, like, luckily he wasn't hurt, and then Haula comes in and puts an elbow through your face. I mean, natural reaction. I'm sorry. If you're walking the street, somebody puts an elbow in your face. Yeah, your natural instinct is probably going to be to deck them. Like that's.
Yeah, no,
100%.
It was absolutely natural.
One more thing about this game before we move on, Ray, which I thought was just hilarious. Rosie's clinker on like the empty net.
Oh my gosh.
Is that not a perfect synopsis of the way the whole season's gone? I saw that and I literally was laughing. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to wake my kid up. I'm laughing so hard at 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, that defines our season so far. Empty net, the goal line's right there. Rosie puts it down. Clink. Like, could not have been more apropos.
It couldn't have been more Danny Ross. Sorry, Shez, go ahead.
I was just saying, luckily we got the empty netter right after, but like, come on now.
Yeah,
I was like, that's the most Canes thing to do in this game. Not miss, not get the empty netter. Clink.
No, yeah, it was Danny Rojas all over again, and Jamie Tart. Like, if we're gonna stay with they just 20 feet out and with authority too. Like he tried to put that one in with a little jam on it and clank. I will point out, though, Ches, you were talking about the Devils rivalry. Brad, you're normally the stats guy, but I've got stats in my head. First of all, 4 games that we played. We won't play the Devils again unless it's in the playoffs. So 4 games, 2 wins each, okay? The number of goals scored, the Devils scored 12 in those 4 games. The Canes scored 13. The hits were, everything about this was ridiculously close, right? Like the number of shots was kind of very lopsided, which you would expect, 125 to 90 some. And then the hits were pretty close as well, but leaned more towards New Jersey. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the true story. This time they do. Yeah. These two teams match very closely together, and it's always going to be a good game. You know what I mean? It's always going to be a good game and very, very close. So we'll leave that one at that. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different that we haven't done before. It is the 2024 calendar year in review, and we're going to take one thing that we want to focus on each for the year in review, something that you want to point out that was significant, that was whatever. And Ches, we're going to give you a chance. We're going to give you a chance to think about this one. And Brad, I wanted to go first on this one before I threw it to you.
Please.
I think the year in review, as far as the Canes are concerned, it starts and ends with, as far as significance go, I think with Necas. The roller coaster that is Martin Necas. this season. There was so much to do about, first of all, like he was decent last season, but struggling. Sorry, not performing to the level that a lot of us expect and know that is within him. The season ends and he goes into the world championship or whatever, the IIHF, and he goes to Czechia to play with his homeland and is astounding. He's played at a center and he is like their best player, even with Pasternak on the same team. I'm sorry, he was the best player and was the reason why they won the championship. So then his dad, someone puts a mic in his face and his dad says, the boy should be playing at center. He doesn't get appreciated enough, which is all things. I mean, it's his dad, right? Like
this is why Brian Pesci wouldn't come on our show, by the way.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
That specific incident, but because of those types of incidents, that's Brian actually was like, "Hey, I appreciate it, but no, Brett wouldn't."
Yeah, exactly.
Understood the devil.
So he comes, and then all that summer, the off season, he wins that. His value raises, and now everyone's questioning. Well, he doesn't. Was he an RFA? Yes, he was an RFA, and we had to decide. Look, are we going to pay him? Or are we not going to pay him? And that was lingering in the air until finally. Was it the day after or the day before Jarvis? I can't recall. I think it was the day after Jarvis. I don't remember. They got Necas, and they signed him up in the prove it contract category. Prove it. You want this extra money and stuff. Go out there and give it to us. Show us. And then he starts the season with this unbelievable blast. He's on fire. Everything he's doing is good and right in the world. He is playing to his full potential. This might sound like I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, but it's also patting Brad on the back too. We here in the Storm Cellar said that was in him. We knew it was in him. And if he ever got the chance, he would show it. You would all see. People were, cranking on him and stuff like that. At the start of the season, he's playing great. He's playing a full 200-foot game and seeing the results. Okay, we're seeing the results. He gets up there, and suddenly there's this groundswell of talk that says he should be a Hart Trophy candidate right now. He is a Hart Trophy candidate now.
Resign him.
Resign him immediately. Yeah, get him. Lock him down. Don't let him go. Right? And then I think it's fair to say that he has cooled down significantly. Now, he was super hot, which is why it's such a big drop down. But we are now starting to see, after he has this amazing start, we're seeing it again. The drop passes to no one. The flourishes that don't get him into empty space. Instead of doing the straight line skating that got him into positions to score, he starts doing the more flowery stuff and turning the puck over. People are reading him now. He's regressed from where he was. And to me, that is the entire string of 2024 for the Hurricanes. It follows the same way. The highs are really high and we're hopping and we're doing great. The lows, losing to the Rags in that sixth game where they played terrible. It was like so frustrating. I think that has been the story. And then it just up and down and up and down. And it's more proof that a NHL season, it's a marathon, not a sprint. All we need is I would deal with less of the super highs if we could just maintain the same Like that's what I want my graph
What
to
Rod
look
wants,
like
right?
is up, and it's what he wants. And he wants it all the way across at one level. None of this super high and then dipping to where you don't even know how to play hockey style. Like, I mean, honestly, that was a situation. That was my look at 2024. That is a significant uh, examination and representation of the Canes season. Brad, what's your
To add on real quick, and then I'm going to make mine super short. One word answer. Who's had the better overall season, Aho or Necas? Just give me a name. You don't get to
overall?
explain.
I'd
Yeah.
still
I'd-
say this.
that's hard. I'd say
So-
Aho, but
So we got one of each, which is fair. To put it into context, what you're saying, Ray, Necas was so hot to start the season. For the month of December, he's averaging 0.58 points per game, which is sixth lowest on the or sixth best on the team, which is not terrible, but that's a very mediocre number. He's still overall at 1.22 points per game. That's how hot his start was. So the fact he's cooled off, it's not that he's cooled off to like nowhere, but he's cooled back to like Marty Necas style numbers. And it looks really awful because of how hot his start was. But that's how hot he was, is that in the last month at 0.58 points per game, he's still at 1.22 and leading the team. Aho, on the other hand, Mr. Consistency is at 1.08, I think, points per game for the month, and is at, I think 1.0 something, 1.06 for the year. So for people, including me, who need to see more out of Aho, he's Mr. Consistent. Like he just does his thing, and it always works out. So anyway, 2024 for me, calendar year, I'm gonna sum it up by saying Nazin. Stefan Nazin.
oh,
I hate that we lost him, but his departure has shown, and the play style at times has shown, a guy who puts his big body in front of the net wins you games. And he has gone to New Jersey, gotten more play time, and part of the reason they are winning and part of the reason that they've had success is because of Stefan Nazin.
yeah.
And I would do the fact we had to let him go really still irks me. He was, of the players we let go, I was a lot better. Like I was a lot happier losing Shea and Pesci than I was Stefan Nazin. So
I think
in a nutshell, Stefan Nazin is how the Hurricane season went. We let go of somebody who will camp in front of the net, and the high shot volume is great, right? Against the first New Jersey game, Aho had 0 shots on goal. You cannot have Sebastian Aho with 0 shots on goal.
Nope.
His 5 last night, and he scores a goal, right? Stefan Nazin helps with that in all aspects. So
Great call. I couldn't agree with you more. That was a tough loss. Ches.
Yeah, I guess mine sort of dovetails into yours, Brad, because I think he's largely responsible for Nason and for every other player kind of like him. I'd say I'd go with Eric Tulsky and his takeover of the Canes as GM, because there was so much, like, I guess it's easy to forget about now, but over the summer, there was so much like doomsday talk about where the Canes currently were. People were like, this team is not going to be in contention for the playoffs. This is going to be like a hard rebuild year. They're losing so many guys. They didn't even get to bring Gensel back. This team is going to be, what do you mean we're replacing Teuvo Teravainen with Jack Roslovic? Who even is that? Like who is Walker? They're losing all their demon. And yet we're like, we started as like a top 5 team and we've cooled down to being like still like a pretty decent playoff team. I think that's a story worth keeping track of. Like, we're not happy with where the team is right now, but like if you told me like this would be the thing that we're upset about in December, I would have been pretty happy with that if you told me that in like July or August. And I think that has to do with Eric Tulsky is a part of a new generation, and I'm very happy that we're the team that gets to benefit from the analytics guy running the team, because I think it's the future of the league, and I think that we're going to benefit, and it's going to pay dividends over and over again. Like, this is a bad year for us. We haven't even gotten our prospects other than Jackson Blake.
yeah, and they're a top 10 team in the league.
Yeah.
For all the things that we're complaining about, you're one of the 10 best teams in the league. If you were in the West, you are. I mean, it's not even contentious.
It should be
right?
unfathomable It should be unfathomable for a team to be like a top 10 team in the league and still have Nikishin, Moro, Unger Sorum, Nadeau, who like there's like a laundry list. Like we have like such a freakishly good prospect pool. Like you should not be allowed to have this good of a prospect pool and be like a team that is in discussion for winning the cup.
Ches, you were so hard on yourself at the start, but you probably give the best assessment of the most important aspect of 2024. I think it was Tulski, and I don't like everyone says he was behind, the curtain helping Don Waddell in the past, and he was. I mean, he totally was helping, but when they shone this, he's the smartest guy in the room, right? But he's the smartest guy in every room. Let's be perfectly honest. No matter where he goes,
patents on like biochemistry or whatever.
Exactly. Like the man is just pure genius, and he brought us players who fit into the style perfectly. And you were absolutely right. That was a big, huge win for the Canes, where everyone thought it was doom.
And for all of his smarts, and we joke about his PhDs and things, all the patents, the smartest thing Eric Tulski does is not assume he knows everything.
Yeah.
The smartest thing he does is he still makes picks and things by committee, and he wants Rod's inputs. Like, how is this guy going to fit into your system? I mean, that's something you can't buy. That's not something that you can train people on necessarily. Like, that's something that if you're a GM and you're just making the decisions because I'm the boss, doesn't always work. And that's one of the things, that's probably, for me, the smartest thing Eric Tulski does is it's still, this is what I think we might want to do. Give me your objections. Give me your opinions. I want to know. And then we're going to hash it out. Like that's been
such a huge part of that, Brad. You nail it on the head, because I'll say this. Do you think that Chris Drury and Peter Laviolette have a great connection and talk really well with each other as far as where the team is going, the way Tulski and Rod do?
There's a reason why so many teams have a revolving door with their coaching. It's because like they see coaches as a person they can slot into like a hole, and they can take them out and put someone else in that slot if they're happening to not win. I feel like the Canes work a lot more like cogs in a larger machine, rather than just thinking that it's like someone you can plug in and swap out for slightly increased like dividends.
Perfectly said. Brad?
I completely agree. The problem with coaches is when you change coaches, you either bring in a coach that fits the players you have, or you have to change the players you have to fit that coach's style of play. And if you're going to change one coach for another coach who's going to play the same style, I don't understand why you change the coach. And if you're going to change coaches to change up the style because something's not working, you should expect it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get out the old players who are under contract who don't fit that style. And that's what the Hurricanes have done successfully for, approaching a decade now. We haven't seen a decade's worth of results yet, but once Rod took over, so we're talking like 7 years. Okay, what style are you going to play? What do you need the players to do? Okay, I'm going to find those players. It's not about best available guy for the Hurricanes. It's about the right guy. That's why they trade down every year and get the guy they want in a lower position and get a pick to go with it. And now they have 2 chances of having a guy, and that's why the pipeline is what it is.
It's a cheaper. Sorry, not cheaper. It's a less expensive way to run the team too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can find the guys that can play certain ways. And like Ches pointed out, who is Robinson? Who is Roslovic? We had all of that out there because they're not flashy and they're not multi-millionaire signings, right? They're inexpensive signings, but like just face it, Roslovic is the team's leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying like $1 million.
Yeah.
And other than Carey, none of the contracts are real long. It's this guy's going to come in and we'll see how he fits for a year or two. And if he doesn't, then we can replace him. And if he does, then we can resign him for another couple of years. You know what I mean?
And the fans hate it sometimes, but the fact that we're not attached to particular players that are willing to move on, I think is why we've been as sustainably successful as we are.
Yeah.
Fans can afford to be attached. GMs cannot.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And that's one of the things, that's another topic about the emotional connection that fans have with players and how hard it is. And do the fans get too emotionally connected to the players? And yes, we do. But facts are facts. You know, you can run a team very, very well with less at times.
Right.
Brad,
I want to do a storm report, but I don't want us to run too long. So
yeah,
let's do a storm report, but let's all promise to try and keep it short.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. We are running long, but let's do it. The storm report and Ches, I think you know how we do this. We label our players or aspects of the team in 3 categories. You get to pick one that stands out, and we'll go from the bottom up. Tropical depression, some that desperately needs to be addressed. Okay, that's the first one. In the middle, it's the tropical storm. It's either going in one direction or the other. A player that's going down or going up, or aspect, same sort of thing. And then the hurricane, which is on point, keep it going this way, and we'll go from there. And Brad, in the effort, we're gonna follow you. We want to keep this short.
Yep.
So we're gonna follow your lead. We'll start with tropical depression. We'll keep it short. We'll start with you, and we'll give Chet some time to think about it. I'm sure he's prepared. He's super smart, but we like to give our guests. Yeah, there you go. Okay, where you go.
Top line defense is a -13.
Ooh.
That means you either need to play better defense or you need to score more goals. Easy.
Yeah, that is tough. And I don't think I've seen Slavin make as many mistakes as he has. It's a less than look for him, and being paired with Burnsy, who is slower, playing better than he did last year, but still same sort of issue. Top line D, that's a tough one. Now
I meant top line offense.
Top line offense.
Jarvis, Aho, and Svechnikov need to either play better defense or they need to score goals.
Completely different discussion. Yeah,
that is different.
Although, yeah, you make a good point too. But yeah,
you know what? I'll take that one. I'll take the top line D. You know what I mean? Slavin and Burnsy. We need just a little bit more out of you. My perfect example for last night, in the past week, the number of times that the D, specifically Slavin and Burnsy, who are fronting the players in front of the net, get knocked out of the way or lose sight of the puck, and the guy that they're covering behind them taps in for a goal.
Orange last night, and it was Mercer on Friday night.
Yes.
Slavin.
Exactly. It happened all the time. Burnsy gets a little cross-check to the back, which a lot of people say, well, it's clearly a cross-check. Those happen all game, and they're not, unless they're egregious, they're not going to be called. Palat gets himself enough space, tucks it in. It's an easy goal, easy play. Those two I've seen, they both got beat that way. And even Slavin took a penalty yesterday. Shame on you. Shame. Oh, I'm kidding. Please, Kat, don't come over here and kill me. Yeah, those two, Slavin, they need to pick their game up just a hair. Ches, who or what is your tropical depression?
Tropical depression. I don't know, because I feel like we've covered the top line and the top D. I don't know. I still just want to see more from Svech. I know he's part of the top. He's part of the top line sometimes, but also oftentimes he plays on the second. So I don't know. He had it going for 2 games, and then he stopped having it going again. And I don't know. He's supposed to be the guy. Other than Aho, he's supposed to be the guy. And I feel like he in particular is just a symptom of a larger problem with the team, because the fact that he's not on, I don't know.
No, you know what? I'd like to see more from him too. And when he's really physical, making checks and stuff like that, he can change a game. And sometimes we don't see it. Brad.
Like he can't decide if he wants to play physical or if he wants to be like a silk scory guy.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Brad, if
We need to
we're
put the power back in power forward.
yes. Agreed. Tropical Storm, Brad.
Ghost and Walker as a third pair. Now Ghost is, still scoring at an unbelievable pace and unbelievable pace in general. I think he's at like 0.77 points per game. Walker, I think overall has played good, and they're playing okay, but I feel like they just need to tighten it up on the defensive end, which is not what they're there for necessarily, but them improving some in that area is going to help. And I think Walker's had a tremendous couple of weeks here. I think he's played really well. And when we get Ghost back, I just want to see Ghost just tighten it up. Like, be responsible. Like, I want you to do your thing. Feel free to just get points in the power play and otherwise play responsibly. But I'd like to see that pairing, just give us a little more defensive effort.
And a quick shout out to Ty Smith, who jumped in onto the power play number 1 in Ghost's position and did not look out of place. And he played a great defensive game. So quick shout out to him. My Tropical Storm is Jarvie. I'm not sure if it's because he was named to the Canadian team or not, but he might be gripping his stick a little bit more. He is getting his goals every now and again, but there's been a few games where he hasn't been as assertive or dominant as he has been as a rule. Now, yesterday he got 3 assists and again, didn't even get a star, which blew my mind. He got 3 assists and made some beautiful plays. But hey, someone's got to give Orlov the number 1 star for beating the crap out of Haula, right? So that's why he got up there. I think Jarvis kind of deserved a star last night, but be that as it may. I think that he could get, and I think he could be on the way. He's kind of static right now. He's not down or up. He's kind of static, but I think he can swing into the Hurricane very quickly if he continues to remain on a line with Sebastian Aho. They have to stay together. Please, Mr. Rod Blendamore.
Please stop putting him just I hate watching him next to Stahl so much. I post about it way too often. I post about it like every single game, just like nonstop to an annoying degree. I hate that group so much.
Yeah, there you go. So that's mine. And Ches, who or what is your Tropical Storm?
I think I would go with Tokarski. Because I think the goaltending this year has been a little questionable. I think for pretty obvious reasons, because we lost.
That's awfully nice of
you. We lost our main goaltender and then lost our secondary goaltender for a while. But I think considering the circumstances, Tokarski's like stepped in the role pretty well. I think he is above 900. He hasn't been perfect by any means. Like he lost one of his 3 games, but I think he's been good enough for what he needs to be right now. And Tokarski Piotr is a goaltender pairing that, while not like perfect, I'm like, okay, we're not going to literally die if this pairing is what we're rolling with right now, which is how I felt with Peretz and Martin.
Yeah, that's it's an improvement, not besmirching anyone, but my goodness, that was like great call, Ches. I agree. The ticker is doing great.
Ticker's got a 907 and a 235 goals against. And maybe it's just me. The team looks more relaxed in front of Ticker than they do in front of Kachekov. Yeah, and that's a huge Kachekov fan. They look like when Ticker's in the net, like they look more fluid. Like they don't look as nervous.
It's the veteran presence, and also that they know that unlike Piotr, he's not going to like do some crazy nonsense where he goes out to like the blue line.
Blue line, yeah. He doesn't need the shock collar to stay, within the exactly. And I wonder, Brad, you say that the team is more laid back or whatever. I think that emanates from Tokarski. and we've kind of said this before. Like the way he absorbs everything. You notice that he's not trying to do anything fancy, like deflect the puck away to keep the puck moving or whatever. He knows we're a great, face-off team. Absorb it, stop the play, and let us win the draw and start over again. I mean, he just, and that type of play is fantastic. I love it. All right, Brad, here it is. Hurricane.
This could be the third line, but specifically, I'm going to say William Carrier is having a heck of a year. He's shown why they brought him in. He's shown why he got that really weird contract so they can keep him around because they wanted to get him in the door. You know, he's a +2. He's got 9 points, so it's not like he's out there, necessarily tallying on the score sheet, but he's very good defensively. He hustles as much as anybody on the team. I can't think of the last time I looked at him and went, what the heck is he thinking? I don't know that I've had that all year since he's been part of the team. So William Carrier, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll just say, and dovetail in with you there, my Hurricane is the third line. And Rod, I know you don't call them the third line. It's the third line. You have them in the third position, but the way they play determines if they're on, usually the Canes are on. Yeah. And it's the extra amount of time in the offensive zone when they're cracking down and forechecking the opposition, under the rink. Like they're just doing such a great job as a group, and they're getting points too.
Real quick, the third line's the heartbeat of the team.
Yep.
And I think putting Jarvis on the third line is giving the team heart palpitations, so stop doing that.
There you go, Brad.
I know people think, are saying, hey, maybe Aho as the next captain of your Carolina Hurricanes. I would throw my hat in the ring for Martinook.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's something to that. The greatest hype man, he is the Flava Flav of this team, right? But there's something to that. Do
you think there's anybody who doesn't listen to Martinook in that locker room?
No, not a chance. Not a chance. Like he'll speak up, and when he speaks up, I bet you, everyone's listening. That's a great choice, Brad. Ches, your Hurricane.
I would go with, I guess this is more of a long-term trend and not necessarily just over the last week or so, but I think I'd go with Jackson Blake. I am continually impressed by just how good he is, because he was a borderline guy. I didn't even think he was going to make the roster this year. I was half jokingly rooting for him to make the final roster during training camp. But he's been good. He looks like he's always been there. It's not just a weird pat on the back. You did so good when he scores. Oh yeah, Jackson Blake scored again. Cool. Which is fun. I think he's really good, and he's also a little baby. It's kind of scary that there's players younger than me now. So
isn't that funny, eh?
Every player's younger than us.
It'll only continue to get worse. So
you know what? That's a great selection. The way he plays belies how long he's been in the league. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's really, he's been in the league for 20 some games, 30 games, right? And look at him. He looks like he's been around forever.
He does.
A great choice. Great choice. Take a quick look at the week ahead. The next 3 games that'll happen before we return. We've got Columbus.
8:00 New Year's Eve, and given by how the past couple of New Year's-esque Columbus games have gone, bet the over if you bet, and watch, because something nuts is going to happen, whether it's a 10-4 score or I don't know,
just crazy, right?
Yeah,
I love these games.
Every year something's going to happen.
And look, I'll say it again, one that we should win.
We should.
Yes.
Put that out there. So there's 2 points. Then I believe we've got the Panthers. No, we've got is it the Panthers and then the Wild?
Panthers in Florida, and then the Wild on Saturday at home. It's the first part of a back-to-back.
The Wild are something.
Yeah.
Holy cow. They're something special. And look, it's the Panthers. Although the Panthers got shot out by the team that shall not be named.
I laughed.
4-0. I don't think I've ever cheered a win for the team that shall not be named in my life until last night.
When
Honestly,
they
that
beat the
was
Rags the other day, I was cheering from.
well, that's true too. Yeah, that one as well.
This
Go ahead.
If this is a 2-point week, don't freak out unless the team like just doesn't try, right? Like, but
Yeah.
if they
It
lose
needs
and
to be
they're
a close 2
competitive,
points for me to be okay with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
get at least 2 points, and I would say that's probably fair. And if you get more than 2 and you're playing better, fantastic. But
Yeah.
Like I would say, like
Florida's
I
no
want the
joke. The
games to be
Wild
close
are
enough. I
dangerous.
want the games to be close enough that I would honestly say I want like 3 points at least. Like I want like
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
like an overtime point from one of those 2 hard games because we've thrown out so many easy to win games that we need to start winning some of the harder to win games. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good
If you
call.
can beat
And
the Wild, I think that's a good measuring stick. More so
I
even
agree.
than maybe the Panthers in some ways.
Panthers are weird.
and Caniacs, make sure you fill the barn because you're going to get a chance to see Kaprizov up front. And he's legit too. As awesome as it was to see Celebrini with the Sharks when they came in, because we got a close up look at how talented he is. Like, holy crap. Like, he was really, really good. Kaprizov is another show to watch, and you're going to be astounded because he's quick, he's fast, and always a threat. It's going to be a huge task for our third line. Yes, Rod, third line. But they're going to have to be, dare I say, perfect to keep him off the board. And Gustafsson is no slouch in net either. And it's the second part of a back-to-back as well. So there's lots of things making that Minnesota game tough. But be there, cheer loud, and let's take 2 from the Panthers as well.
Please.
Like, let's get the 2 points out of that. I think there's a distinct possibility that we could get 4 out of the 6.
I think that's realistic. I think that we've set our expectations low because of the slump that we're on. I think this is a good team. Like I think we can win against difficult opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no question. No question. Brad, how many points do you think we've got?
I'm going to say 2 because if I say 2 and we get more, I'll be super excited. And if I say 4 or 6 and we don't get them, I might be kind of cranky. And it's the new year and I don't have to work for another week. So I'm going to set myself up for success.
There you go. Love to see it. Love to see it. There it is, guys. Another amazing episode, made even more so by you, Ches. Thank you so much for joining us. You brought so much to the table. Honestly, way too hard on yourself, dude. Way too hard. Stop it, because man, you know what you're talking about. You've got great takes. Some of the best takes of the show, frankly, and I have no trouble saying that because Brad and I, we're standard, the old guys, but it's that new blood that we have when we come in to see the Caniacs that really sharpen things up. And you did a great job. So thank you so much. If someone would like to follow you, because you are in social media, how do people follow you and get in on some of that great knowledge that you have?
I'm Ches.baby on Blue Sky.
Love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
Ches with 1 S. Ches.baby.
People follow Ches. He's got the goods. Just an excellent episode. Brad, what more is there?
Go Crystal Palace.
Well, we'll let you slide on that one too. We'll let you get that one.
Appreciate that.
I think what we're really after is go Canes.
Oh yeah, go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us by email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.